A $20 pickup off AliExpress and a $400 boutique humbucker both come down to the same thing. Copper wire wrapped around a magnet, 42 gauge plain enamel, Alnico. That's it. Most players never hear $80 of difference, and half the time the price tag is buying a logo, a legend, or a placebo. 8 pickups here charge you for everything except the spec. 3 actually earn it. We measured. Number 1 is the fake that started this whole mess. Number 11, the counterfeit Seymour Duncan. Picture the JB everyone knows. Now picture one that costs about $5 to manufacture, sells for $45 to $90 on AliExpress, and lands on eBay at $120 wearing a Made in USA stamp. The formula for these old models is practically public, so it might even sound close. But you aren't buying a pickup, you're buying a sticker. The logo sits off center on the bobbin. The font is wrong, too white, the letters spaced too far apart. The base plate wears a thick coat of wax to hide the work underneath. Pull it out, and the engraving is shallow and blurry where the real one is deep and crisp. Everything you pay for lives on the front of this thing, and nothing lives in the coil. The test takes 10 seconds. Center the logo, read the font, look at the wire count, and the real damage comes later. Honest buyers resell these as genuine without knowing, so the fake keeps circulating long after the first sale. Now, the second fake is sneakier because it hides behind a battery. Number 10, the counterfeit EMG 81. Real actives use a clean quick connect, 2 wires plus 1. The fakes run 3 separate wires and bolt on with the wrong size screws. And here's the tell that ends the argument. Thousands of them ship with the exact same production sticker, dated July 27, 2013. Image search a real 85 and half the photos online carry that identical serial. One date, one factory, one lie copied 1,000 times over. It might power on. It might even sound passable through a modeler, but you're trusting your entire signal chain to a forgery whose only true spec is the fraud. And an active pickup that dies mid-set takes the whole guitar silent with it. The cruel part is how convincing they've gotten. Close enough that buyers cover themselves with returns instead of trusting the part. So, if counterfeits sell you a name that isn't theirs, the next tier sells you a name that is. Number 9, the boutique vintage reproduction. Here's where it stings, because this one's legal. A celebrated Repro PAF can run $400, and the flagship sets reach $949. Open one up, and you find 42 gauge plain enamel wire and an Alnico magnet. The exact 2 ingredients sitting in a $25 set. The makers themselves sell the loose magnets and call them the same vintage formulation. One famous builder was asked which magnet he runs in which position, and answered, and this is a quote, "There's gotta be some mystery to all this. That's the product. The mystery is the markup." Yes, the winding and the magnet grade shape the tone, and a great repro is a real thing. But the wire doesn't know it costs $900, and most of that number is reputation, not raw material. Run a meter across a $900 repro and a $40 set wound to the same resistance, and the needle won't tell them apart. But Mystique isn't the only name they sell. Sometimes the name belongs to a guitarist. Number 8, the signature name premium. A pickup stamped with a famous player's name carries a tax that has nothing to do with output. Take the typical signature humbucker. The magnet is an Alnico. The catalog already sells under a plain part number, and the wind is a spec sheet you can read for free on the maker's own site. You are paying for the autograph on the box, not the tone in the coil. The marketing promises you a legend sound, but the legend sound came from his hands, his amp, and the room, none of which ship in the cardboard. If the same pickup without the name costs less and measures identical on a meter, then the name is the only upgrade you bought. And an autograph has never moved a single string. One player said it plainly about a famous pair. For the price difference, there's simply nothing wrong with the cheaper one. Now, watch how the trick gets quieter and more expensive. Number 7, the hand-wound pickup with hidden specs. Hand-wound sounds like craft, and sometimes it genuinely is. But when a maker refuses to tell you the magnet grade, the turn count, or the DC resistance, you cannot verify a single claim. You're paying a premium for secrecy, dressed up as artistry. A real spec survives daylight. Alnico 2, Alnico 5, ceramic, the ohm reading, the wire gauge, the potting. Numbers don't need a backstory to be true. The minute a seller protects the recipe instead of printing it, ask yourself what the secret is actually hiding, because the honest builders print everything. When the story is longer than the spec sheet, You're funding the legend, not the build. Ask for the DC resistance and the magnet grade in writing. A builder who's proud of the work hands those over before you finish the sentence. So far, we've chased pickups that cost too much. This next one fails the other direction. Number 6. The ultra-cheap no-name active. The opposite trap, and the savings are a mirage. Players who bought the bottom-shelf overseas actives report the same 2 failures over and over. They turn microphonic after a while, and they feed back sooner than they should. That squeal isn't a setting you can dial out. It's the coil itself going loose inside the housing. The $20 you saved evaporates the first time the pickup screams through a loud amp at a gig. Cheap isn't the crime here. Plenty of cheap pickups are honest. Unmanaged, unpotted, and inconsistent unit to unit. That's the crime. A pickup that can't survive its own volume isn't a bargain. It's a countdown to a rebuild. And before anyone defends unpotted coils, the players who run vintage unpotted PAFs manage the squeal on purpose, with control. A loose budget coil gives you the squeal without the choice. Which brings us to the most expensive ingredient of all, belief. Number 5. The hype cycle tone secret. Every season, a new pickup gets crowned the holy grail. The marketing leans on words instead of numbers, mojo, vibe, a proprietary wind nobody will describe. Here's the part the ads won't run. In blind tests, players routinely cannot pick the expensive one, and many admit afterward they only heard the difference because they knew the price going in. One commenter said it perfectly. After years in the high-end audio world, the placebo effect is brutally strong, and if you're told something costs more, it'll almost always seem to sound better. Another summed up 2 famous pickups in one line. They both sound like wire wrapped around magnets. You're not buying tone. You're buying the story you tell yourself when you plug in. The honest move is to test it the way these comparisons do. Blind, same amp, same player, no price tag visible. Do that, and the magic usually disappears. Now, the last one isn't a fake or a fraud. It's just badly oversold. Number 4. The overwound ceramic metal brick. Sold as the ultimate upgrade, the hottest output on the wall, the pickup that'll fix your tone. A famously hot ceramic humbucker reads around 16.6K in the bridge, and on most rigs it lands too bright and too aggressive, harsh even at moderate gain. It does exactly one job, and it does it loud. For a player who isn't living inside high-gain metal, it isn't an upgrade at all. It's a personality transplant you didn't ask for, and it'll make your cleanse brittle on the way. High output is a flavor, not a quality grade. A hotter number on the box doesn't mean a better pickup, it means a narrower one. The right buyer loves this pickup. Everyone else is paying a premium to make their guitar do one thing it was never asking to do. So, those are the 8 that charge you for the label. Now, the 3 that charge you for the build. Number 3. The Seymour Duncan JB. The one that's copy, precisely because the real one is worth copying. It averages around $79, and it's built like the number says. Alnico 5 bar magnet, nickel-silver base plate, 4-conductor lead for series, parallel, and split coil wiring. And the detail that matters most against everything we've covered, vacuum wax potting, which locks the coils down so they won't squeal under gain. That's the exact failure the cheap no-name actives can't escape, engineered out at the factory. It's hand-built in California, it's been roadworthy across decades of stage and studio use, and it ships with one honest spec sheet and 0 mystery. You pay for tone, and the tone actually shows up when you plug in. Around $80 buys hardware you can measure, name, and trust under a hot amp, which is the whole point of the spec. Now the second honest pickup costs a fraction of that. Number 2. The honest budget passive. Wilkinson, Artec, Eeyore, a handful of others, roughly $20 to $40 a set. Same 42 gauge wire, same Alnico magnet, the same physics running through the boutique stuff, just priced at the spec instead of the legend. As one player put it after a blind test, they both sound like wire wrapped around magnets. And he wasn't wrong. The difference that earns these a spot. The brands print the numbers, the resistance, the magnet, and they don't pretend there's a buried secret. You're not getting less pickup for your money. You're getting the same pickup without the costume, and a meter will prove it in one reading. The catch is consistency. Buy from a brand that publishes specs, not a random listing. So, the set you get matches the numbers you read. And the last one earns its price with engineering you can actually point to. Number 1. The EMG81 Active. Around $65 to $100, and this is the rare case where the money buys a thing you can name. A powered preamp that delivers tight low end, consistent output gig after gig, and near silence at high gain where passive coils start to hiss. Solderless quick connect install, genuine unit-to-unit consistency. No surprises out of the box. You trade one 9-volt battery for the exact reliability the no-name Actives never managed to build. That's not a logo tax, and it isn't a mystery. That's real circuitry doing a measurable job and charging you a fair price to do it. The battery is the one honest tax here, and unlike a logo, it actually does something every time you play. So read the coil, not the cover. Subscribe. This channel follows the spec, not the label.